Groundbreaking neural symbiotic LLMs will be a game changer. And our moderator, Mr. Brian Rose from London Real, please come to the stage.
Alrighty, let's go. Welcome, everybody. We're going to be talking quite a bit about artificial intelligence today. We're going to go deep. We're going to talk about the scary stuff, about the exciting stuff. So please grab a seat. I'm super excited to be joined today by Janet Adams. She's the Chief Operating Officer of SingularityNET, which is a decentralized artificial intelligence marketplace. She is also the co-CEO of Zarka, which is a neurosymbolic large language model at massive scale. Please give it up for Janet. So I want to kick it off by just doing a quick poll of everybody in here on your AI skills. Raise your hand if you've played with ChatGPT or some other AI device. Okay, keep those hands up. Keep your hand up if you've implemented artificial intelligence in your business in any way. Okay? Hands are still up. Keep your hands up if you think artificial intelligence will one day kill us all. Okay, about half of you. All right, well, these are the deep questions we really want to know. And we've got probably the best in the business up here with me today. Janet, tell us, what is the state of the union of all things artificial intelligence? A year ago, not many people were talking about AI. Then we had the ChatGPT moment in December last year. And now, everyone is talking about artificial intelligence. You've been doing this with SingularityNET for years. Where are we right now? What is the state of the union?
Well, thank you, Brian. It's an absolute pleasure and an honor to share the stage here with you at GITEX. Welcome, everybody. Good morning. It's very encouraging that there are so many technical people in the audience. So what is the state of the nation with AI today? I'm going to do a little quick show of hands, and I'm going to provocate that there are two major races in technology today. Does anybody know what those two major races are? You have all got a lot to learn. So, of course, the race of the decade, Brian, is the race to artificial general intelligence. Now, we're currently in the narrow AI era. We're coming out of an applied AI era. And those of you who have been applying AI in industry, I'm sure you've been using deep neural networks, logistic regression, support vector machines, k-means clustering, all of the traditional applied artificial intelligence methods. And those methods are super, super powerful, but they have no ability to generalize, and they are extremely unlikely ever to reach the next frontier of artificial intelligence, which is AGI, Artificial General Intelligence. Intelligence which has the ability to domain shift, to learn in one context, and apply what it's learned in another context. So that's the race to AGI. That's the race of the decade.
What's the second one?
What's the second one? Anybody got a clue? Someone, come on. Oh, brilliant. I love an audience I can illuminate. The major race that's on right now, we're seeing it in big tech, we're seeing it in innovators like us, SingularityNET, is the race to create a large language model architecture, hybrid, powerful, combined approaches that does not hallucinate. Who has had ChatGPT hallucinate on them? Hallucination is such a bummer, right? You've got a massively powerful technique like deep neural networks, large language models, the most powerful statistical application we've ever seen in the history of our species. Maybe, let's say, 90, 92, 93, 94% accurate, fantastic. And we'd all be happy if we got 94% in an exam, right? But if you're working in financial services, which I'd say many of you are here today, 94% is absolutely no use to you, and in some countries is going to land you up in jail or in a lot of trouble with the regulators. And that's why the major, fastest, hottest race in technology today is to see who can create an LLM that does not hallucinate?
Yeah, this is so important. So I asked one of these large language models recently to tell me about the most recent guests on my show, London Real. And it spit out a couple names, and then it said, I had an amazing interview with Tony Robbins. Now, I love Tony. When I was 10 years old, he taught me how to break a board with my hands. He taught my mom to walk on hot coals. But I've never interviewed Tony Robbins on London Real. Now, I have a 7-year-old boy. His name is Caden. He could have fact-checked that on Google himself. And yet, you've got the most powerful, most expensive large language model in the world spitting out garbage. Do you want that model to take care of your kids? Do you want that model to look after your defense? It's a really scary situation. And so Dr. Ben Goertzel, who is your chief scientist and CEO, I think, at SingularityNET, he coined this term, artificial general intelligence, a long time ago. And we've had him on the show many times, and he said, look, I don't think ChatGPT 4, 5, 6, or 7 is necessarily going to get us there because it's predicting the next word. That's what ChatGPT is doing. And to actually think and use logical reasoning, that's something you've been working on at SingularityNET for a long time. And I see it as apples and oranges. It feels like you're playing chess and they're playing checkers. Can you talk about that a little bit more? And did I get that right?
You absolutely got that right. In the end, when we get to AGI, the jury is out as to whether there will be a place for these large language models, for these DNNs. They're massively resource intensive. The amount of data they need, the amount of GPUs, the amount of power that the world needs to consume in order to produce these statistical outputs is enormous. So it is, in that sense, apples and oranges. What we're focused on right now at SingularityNET, as well as our path to AGI, is how do we take the technology stack, which we have built for AGI, and apply it to large language models today in the path towards AGI. So we've got a knowledge graph. Does everybody here know what a knowledge graph is? One.
What is it? Explain it a little more.
A knowledge graph is a more subtle, more intelligent, more mathematical version of a relational database. So it's a more advanced type of database that can work with more compact knowledge representation, and that can process information faster, and that can build semantic links between objects. So it's a form of neural symbolic programming. In our case, we've built a distributed atom space, as we call it, which is a dynamic knowledge graph, meaning it can continuously update itself as situations arise, as it learns. So we've built a giant distributed atom space dynamic knowledge graph. We've also built what we call our AI DSL, an AI domain-specific language. The AI domain-specific language enables algorithms, AI algorithms, to speak to each other, to contract with each other without requiring any human intervention. And then we've built our Meta functional programming language, which is a new functional programming language built just for AGI, which can cope with more subtlety, more ambiguity. It can cope with para-consistent logic. It can cope with black and white at the same time. And that para-consistency, that fluidity of programming, reduces the brittleness of today's AI algorithms, which has been the curse of every single AI implementation. The fact that it can't cope with ambiguity, that it can't creatively change as the situation and environment changes around it, as the information changes, and that it simply breaks. So with our advanced artificial general intelligence, neural symbolic methods, they are the perfect tech stack on which to integrate with today's transformer neural nets, all of today's deep neural networks, to create a new, powerful, hybrid, large language model, which has the potential to revolutionize industry. Now, who's been in artificial intelligence for 5 years? And two.
Wow.
So a much.
3. No, go ahead. So 3, go ahead, if you've been here for
3.
5 years.
So a much smaller subset of those of you who've been working in artificial intelligence. Anyone who's been in the industry more than 5 years, how many disappointments and false summers have we had with AI? Many, many false summers. When I was working in HSBC, I was global head of conduct for the commercial bank at HSBC in 2017. And there was a big AI hype going on at the time. We were just on the brink of inventing transformer neural nets. And at the time in the industry, I remember going to fintech conferences, and they were all saying, within 3 years, AI is going to be running banking, it's going to be running all our credit, it's going to be running our front-to-back operational processes. And roll on 6 years later, that promise has not been fulfilled. The missing link in today's AI systems is the more mathematical, the more complex, the more subtle neural symbolic techniques. Now, those of you in AI, how many of you have worked with neural symbolic techniques? I'm guessing almost none, seeing as nobody knew what a knowledge graph was. So neural symbolic, what we're seeing today, we're seeing the entire industry shift towards neural symbolic techniques. We announced our neural symbolic large language model, smart large language model strategy at SingularityNET with Zarka, which we have based here in the UAE, in the GCC. We announced this in March, April. Since then, we've seen OpenAI shift their strategy just recently towards AGI. We've seen Google Gemini come out with a neural symbolic knowledge graph combined strategy. Big tech are following us. But guess what, Brian?
Tell me.
It's very hard. Neural symbolic techniques are super. They're the most mathematical and the most complex type of AI. And this is one reason why industry have not been using them. Most people with a few months training can download a few Python libraries and can run a neural network or a support vector machine or any of the classic traditional AI methods. But to apply neural symbolic methods takes a huge amount of mathematical discipline, rigor, and training. And there are fairly few people in the world who specialize in these techniques.
Now, you mentioned Google and you mentioned OpenAI. I had a question for you because I think it was about 4 or 5 months ago, there was a leaked memo that was sent by a senior AI scientist inside Google. Did anybody hear about this leaked memo? It kind of went quiet very quickly. And it was fascinating because you got to see inside the brain of one of the Google engineers. And they wrote a memo and said, look, we've been busy trying to compete with ChatGPT, working really hard to outdo each other. And meanwhile, a third party has been literally eating our lunch. And that was open source. Now, the Facebook Llama model had been leaked or distributed months earlier. And they found that people all around the world, from high school students to college professors, were innovating in an open source way without having to worry about PR consequences or profits. And the conclusion of the memo was, now all it takes is one person, a beefy laptop, in an evening to start making these massive breakthroughs. And so we went from December last year thinking you needed $10 billion and 10,000 employees to now seeing that maybe open source decentralized is the way. And the reason I ask is because you guys have been doing that since 2017. You've been on the blockchain, and I know Zarka is planning to make this open source, to make this decentralized, and that is completely different than anything we see, because right now I see trillion-dollar technology companies trying to get even more powerful, and I don't like that, quite frankly. It scares me.
It is a scary prospect,
Very.
Brian. The oligopoly, the monopoly of big tech today is strangling productivity in developing countries, in SMEs. It puts up such a high barrier to entry to technology and charges for these incredibly powerful technologies, which to me are a human right. Access to technology is a human right, same as access to water, to food, to security, to education, to health. By taking an open source, decentralized approach to the development of powerful, smart, neural symbolic, large language models, as well as AGI, as well as AI in general, in our two-sided SingularityNET marketplace, what this gives us is infinite expansion capability. No one company, when the decentralization movement really kicks in, along with the development of the most powerful large language models ever invented, available on an open source marketplace at an absolute fraction of the price that big tech are paying for. I think I agree with the AI scientist at Google. The same chap, if I remember correctly, he said, the innovation is going to come from the fringe. Google is stuck in a corporate mindset, stuck in its advertising, its product mindset. But the fringe is where the innovation is really happening. Now, we're fringe compared to Google, but we are the OGs of AI and crypto. SingularityNET was founded in 2017. We're a extremely well-known and popular crypto AI brand. And of course, Dr. Ben Goertzel is one of the most famous AI scientists in the world. I would also posit, and I don't have full data for this, so it's an opinion, that we're the only leading R&D AI house which is led by one of the top giants of AI, because all of the other giants of the AI, they're either working for universities or they're working for big tech. Therefore, with our deep pedigree in neural symbolic methods, there is every possibility that with Zarka here in the Middle East, with the support, all of the fantastic innovation culture that's available here in UAE and in GCC countries, there's every possibility that we will be the first to develop these smart neural symbolic large language models. And when we do, it will wipe out the models of the past. And the beautiful thing about it is, it's not easy to copy, even though all of our work is open source. We're passionate about democratizing access to technology and using this AI revolution to dramatically reduce inequalities on the planet, because the inequalities are just completely wrong. Therefore, stay with us, follow Zarka, follow SingularityNET. Anyone who's interested in coming and working on our two-sided marketplace, technical team like this, are all welcome, because open source, democratized access to technology with the most powerful techniques ever invented is absolutely going to transform the entire fabric of enterprise as we know it.
Janet, every time I talk to you or talk to Ben Goertzel, and he's been on our show like 6 times now, I just get more and more excited, and I'm more and more convinced that the future, the AI future I want, belongs in your hands. And for full disclosure, London Real Ventures is an investor in Zarka. We were all in when I heard this business model, and the more I learn about these, large tech companies, the more I want to keep AI and AGI out of their hands. I want to keep it open source. I want to keep it on the blockchain. I want to dive into Zarka. I especially want to hear about the name. But just to talk about SingularityNET, you've had a bunch of massive success with SingularityNET in the last 3 to 6 months. You've launched Hypercycle, True AGI. You've got all sorts of projects in the SingularityNET ecosystem. I can't count the number of projects, like 12 or 14 projects. Can you talk about those before we jump into Zarka?
Wonderful, thank you. Yes, we're having a spectacular year at SingularityNET. We're going from success to success. How many of you here are involved with any of our projects? Hypercycle, Rejuve, Cogito, NewNet, Singularity DAO? Anyone? Yay, few people. Thank you very much for your support for our projects. So in January of this year, OpenAI released ChatGPT. And what that showed the world is that you don't have to have a PhD in maths to use artificial intelligence. it was a landmark moment. It was a breakthrough moment where everybody has started using AI. And on the back of this wave of realization that AI is now coming close and can be used, we've seen a huge surge of interest into the industry. Pioneers such as Dr. Ben Goertzel, our visionary founder, he built his first attempt at AGI in 1998. Imagine that? The WebMind engine in 1998, 25 years ago. He was so visionary and so ahead of his time at that point in time, but he was always ahead of his time, like all visionaries. I'm sure many of you here working in artificial intelligence are visionaries. We all are. We see the future. Blockchain, crypto, artificial intelligence. And what we've seen coming into 2023, you know that saying, there's nothing more powerful than an idea whose time has come. The world has finally reached a point where it's ready for the work of Dr. Ben Goertzel, where it's ready for advanced artificial intelligence, where it's ready for all of the projects which we've been seeding across strategically selected vertical markets. So we have projects in DeFi, we have projects in biotech, we have projects in arts and entertainment, in metaverse. And we have some really serious infrastructural projects. Hypercycle is our layer 0 blockchain. NewNet is our distributed processing power engine. And we're also working to create and design an AI optimized chip, because the GPU, of course, is a graphical processor unit. It's optimized for something completely different. So yes, we've had enormous success this year. We're continuing to grow. We're continuing to expand. We're continuing to expand particularly our core technology, AGI teams, and focusing in. I was here in Dubai 2 weeks ago with 21 of our top scientists from around the world, focused on how are we going to actually develop and release the most powerful technologies and probably the last invention that humanity will ever make. Because as soon as AI is as smart as humans and then super smart, it'll be capable of Nobel Prize winning discoveries every 5 minutes. So we're having a super fantastic year at SingularityNET. I'm very grateful to all of our community who continue to support us. Support from yourself, support from other communities around the world. This is the most important mission of all time. Because to your point, if big tech or some government or military somewhere invent AGI, the most powerful technologies ever invented, they'll be invented for power, for control, for profit. We're inventing artificial general intelligence for the benefit of all humanity, for the benefit of all of the developing nations, for the benefit of all of the SMEs and the people who don't access the ginormous wealth that technology revolutions engenders. And of course, you all know, right? Wealth creation on our planet goes in waves, and those waves are industrial revolutions. They get bigger every time. They get faster every time. And the revolution we're now in, and you're all now in, is the biggest, the fastest, and the most impactful technology revolution, industrial revolution of all time. So as we enter this wave of massive unprecedented disruption, it is the absolute imperative that these technologies are used for good, that they're open source, that they're decentralized, and that technology-generated wealth is not concentrated in the hands of a few individuals, but that it's used to lift whole societies out of poverty, to end world hunger, to eradicate the giant inequalities we see on the planet today. So thank you all for listening to me and for being part of this movement, and I hope you get that message. It's the most important movement of all time.
And so just to follow up on that, by the way, what I love about Janet is she brings some very different energy than what is typically in AI. And I went to school with these folks at MIT, some very male on the spectrum energy. And I love that you bring this feminine energy, this open source energy, this global thinking energy. That's why you guys are such a great team at SingularityNET. And look, listen to what Janet just said. This could be the last invention humanity ever makes. I think most of the world is sleeping on all of this technology, and it's so important that we make sure this is developed in the right hands. We got a couple minutes left. Can you just tell us about Zarka, where the name came from, why have this company here in this region, and what can we expect?
Well, thank you. Who here knows who Zarka is? I'm pronouncing it badly. Zarka. It should be how I pronounce it. Do you know? Zarka. You know Zarka al-Yamama. Zarka al-Yamama. Zarka al-Yamama is a pre-Islamic Arabic heroine, was a pre-Islamic Arabic heroine. She had blue eyes, and her eyesight was so sharp, she could see a rider coming at a week's distance, which, seeing as we've been seeing into the future for so long at SingularityNET, and Zarka is the technology of the future, is a highly fitting and appropriate name for our company here in the Middle East. It underpins our commitment to working here in the Middle East. It brings that feminine energy that you referred to and engenders an inclusiveness and, in a sense, a welcome to everybody in the region to come and work with us, because the commitment to innovation in UAE. UAE was the first country to have an AI strategy. The commitment to innovation is absolutely enormous. It's undeniable. We're here, we're setting up in the DIFC, we have a holdings company in Abu Dhabi, and we're here to work with everybody in the region to build the next giant tech unicorn out of the Middle East.
Beautiful. On that note, Janet, thank you very much. If you want to learn more, follow SingularityNET, look into Zarka, get active in this space. It's going to move, and when it moves, it's going to move very, very fast. And let's all make sure this stays in our hands, not in big tech hands. Give it up for Janet Adams. Thank you, everybody.